Wes McDonald here, and I want to thank you for tuning in to another episode of TigerTube. And if you can't see us, that means you're listening in on Tigerpaw Radio, and want to thank you for that too. Don't forget, make sure you subscribe to get access to all of the great learning content that Tigerpaw is producing. And if you like this episode, make sure to like and share. And as is our custom, we like to let the guests introduce themselves. So Brandi Rogers, if you could introduce yourself for our audience.
I am Brandi Rogers. I'm the Director of Marketing for CharTec and ARC Technology. ARC Technology is our own sister MSP, and CharTec is a training company for MSPs, and we ultimately train on sales, marketing, and operations. Right now, that's what I've been doing for about 3 years. And prior to that, I've had started my own business. We're in the ways I do B2B swag. And then I also have a nonprofit dog rescue that I still own and run today.
Social media like LinkedIn and Facebook are pretty misunderstood by most business owners. I think you can agree that people don't really understand the power that it holds, or if it's useful at all in helping to, push their businesses forward, right? So maybe you can, for our audience, explain why you feel that using social in 2022 was so important.
I'm really glad you brought that up, Wes, because I often see comments on LinkedIn and comments on Facebook that LinkedIn is dying and Facebook is dying and so on. So they're always battling against each other. And I have to say, I just disagree with all of them altogether. So let me put some numbers out here for you. For LinkedIn, and for example, LinkedIn has over 97% of B2B companies using it, and almost 80% of leads are coming from LinkedIn. So you can get very specific with your audience on LinkedIn, and the way of you are able to choose and select who you connect with that matches your ideal avatar, so to speak. So LinkedIn is definitely has moved very rapidly from the ways of employer use only, and has been used a lot tremendously in the ways of B2B marketing. So I definitely highly recommend using LinkedIn for that. And then with Facebook, to put some numbers out there for you as well, Facebook has 2.89 billion users and 1.93 billion daily visitors. And of that, 74% leverage Facebook for business, and decision makers have 74% of the time, more time than other users on Facebook. So that's got to say something when you see those kind of stats, right? You can't ignore them. The numbers are real. It's not something that you're just thinking out of thin air, when you have those stats. So I highly recommend using LinkedIn and Facebook for B2B purposes.
Yeah, I love it. And I've been a big proponent of that, for years myself, right? And on LinkedIn, I agree with what you're saying, that you really get to, kind of hone in on, the kinds of people that you actually build your network with, right? And I'm always telling my kids, they're teenagers and young adults now, that you are defined by the people that you surround yourself by, right? And I find the same thing on LinkedIn. To be able to have that choice of the kinds of people that we're connecting with, to build those relationships. And I don't necessarily have 10,000 plus users. I think I'm around 5,000 now, but I tend to personally at least be a little selective on the kinds of folks that I'm, trying to connect with out there in the world, right?
Well, absolutely. And you want to connect with your target audience. You connecting with people who don't match what your messaging is about is not going to do you any good. And that's kind of the big difference between Facebook and LinkedIn. One of the differences between Facebook and LinkedIn is that in LinkedIn, you can actually be very selective, and Facebook, you don't really, you don't see their profiles. You don't see what they're all about. But one thing Facebook does certainly have is a mean, wicked retargeting tool. So, hey, you can definitely retarget to the people you really want to target.
Yeah. And I saw you speak on that. Actually, I was honored to meet you at ChannelCon, and this idea that Facebook does have such a powerful engine for that, retargeting, right? And so for anyone that's watching, make sure you check that out, because it is very powerful. In the tech services world, maybe you can let us know, because obviously I'll tell you from my own experience, right, that I find that in the office equipment channel, for example, that LinkedIn is a great tool for, networking and getting work done with people. I've worked with other folks that say, for example, in commercial integration space, that Twitter's, quite heavily used by them. And for MSPs and managed IT providers, I've seen actually that the Facebook groups are actually quite heavily used by, some of them in that space to be able to do stuff, right? So I'm just wondering, in the tech services world, from your experience, because you actually do this for a living, what platforms are the strongest, and are you seeing anything that's coming down the road?
Right. So besides LinkedIn and Facebook that we just discussed, what we do for our own MSP and the MSPs we market for is we also heavily utilize Google Business Profile. So again, I'm a numbers girl and I like to see the stats on these platforms. So just think about that 50% of Google Business Profile visitors lead to website visitors, right? So they're coming from Google Business to your website. 97% of the users learn about you online. So in 64% of them have used Google, all right? So Google is a huge search engine. And you get 5% of conversions, a conversion rate, which is huge.
Wow.
So we utilize those three platforms the most when it comes to the IT industry.
Well, that's great to hear. I hadn't actually thought of using Google Business for the IT space, right? If you maybe had 3 to 5 tips that you could offer folks out there that are actually trying to say, okay, I get it, I buy in. How can I, get started?
That's a great question. So I would say the top 5 tips to really focus on when you're deciding to get into the social media world. First, you got to define your goals with your social media platforms. What are you out there trying to do? Is it purely lead conversion? Is it brand awareness? Is it just going out and creating some sort of website traffic? So you got to define those goals so that you understand what platforms you should utilize. Then you got to stay consistent with your brand. Posting things that are just all over the place with different colors and different fonts and different everything. Brand consistency is key to keep to sort of have inception with your audience. They consistently are seeing it, and even it's those people who may not need your services, but they recognize you, they remember you when somebody does, one of their friends does, and say, oh, I've been seeing this IT company pop up on my feed a lot, this is the name, they automatically recognize that. So brand consistency is very important. Following your audience. So choosing a platform where your audience is hanging out at. That's really important. So if your audience is always on LinkedIn because you're promoting to businesses, then definitely use LinkedIn. I see, for example, I see TikTok. There's a lot of businesses promoting their business, but I see a lot of consumers. And so if you have a tangible item, then I would say TikTok was probably a good platform. The other tip I would say is optimization. You got to optimize all of your platforms. If you don't optimize them, you're not going to take advantage of their capabilities. And so that's something that we do here as well, is optimize them. Staying consistent with your content that's relevant to your audience, and then also continuously driving traffic to those posts. Those are the top things that are super important when it comes to social media.
And I'll add another tip is that I think if we had, let's say, the 6th tip, they could get in touch with CharTec as well for help with that. Is that correct?
Well, that's all we do. We train on sales, but we do marketing for IT companies. That is our niche.
Yes, that's great. And actually, we did mention before the call as well, you work with some of the partners that I do as well, and that I know they would speak very highly of the services that you do. So make sure you check them out if you're looking for some help. Social for business isn't just marketing, right? And I know that one of the things that I help people with oftentimes is building their personal brand or their online persona or their digital presence, whatever you want to call it, right? Mm-hmm. And I wonder, do you have any recommendations for people that are looking to increase the strength of their personal brand on social? You did make some mention, obviously, about brand consistency for the organization. What about, what's your advice for that personal brand?
I am a big advocate for video marketing, and I'm sure you could agree. So people recognize you if you're out there, you're putting yourself out there, and they see you're personable, they understand your personality, and they understand, they will automatically relate that to your business. So video marketing is huge, and I give lots of training sessions at our academies on this, on how to utilize video marketing within your sales process, how to utilize it within your marketing process. It is it's where we're going. Look how many people you're seeing walking around looking on their phones, people at dinner at a restaurant all on their phone, and they're watching videos, but they're not necessarily having to see, hear them. They're watching them, and so there's a lot of tips and tools that you need to know when it comes to the video marketing. It's not hard, it's just consistency, right? So that is a really big one. And another one that I find that works really well are curiosity-based posts. When you're posting things that require someone to engage with you, that's very important when it comes to staying consistent with your personal brand.
Yeah, and LinkedIn makes it easy now, right? Because they actually do polls and questions, and I'm one of those people that cannot resist them, right? It's like, I think it's number 2. I have to get involved with that, right? And then usually leave a comment, afterwards once it all comes through, and I think it is very powerful. Yes, on the video side, we're seeing so much of it everywhere, right? And
Yes.
again, in the retail space, when I'm helping my wife with her stuff, everything on Instagram is shifted to video now, right? So for them, their platform is Reels. They make it real easy on the the actual platform to be able to produce some pretty cool things with templates for videos and everything else. But I'd say that most of the views and stuff that are happening now are happening with video, right? So it's and every day when I'm on LinkedIn, I see more and more people that are starting to post little videos, right? And they could be talking about culture, they could be talking about tips and tricks for improving your business or whatever. And I find those much more engaging, and it may be easier to digest, than having to read something long form. And I still write long form blogs, but I think it's, at least for me, I see that happening quite a bit, just as you say, on the platform. Now we're getting to the part of the interview, which I like to call the impossible question. And it's the impossible question because I'm going to say, if you only had one piece of advice for tech service providers looking to make a bigger impact with social, maybe what would that be?
Do something, just don't do nothing. You don't want to sit there and a year goes by and you've been thinking about doing some marketing or doing some social media, doing some blogging, and then a year goes by and you did nothing, and then you're back. You're just wasted a whole year. So just don't sit there and be status quo. You've got to do something. You can start small. You can break it down to the bigger pieces, from down to one avenue, and stay consistent with it, and then move on to the next piece. Or you can outsource it to a firm that can do it for you.
And hey, for folks that out there that may be looking to do something and get a little help, how can they reach out to you?
Yep, you can reach out to me at Brandi, Brandi at chartec.net, or you can just go to chartec.net as well. And I will say that we have an upcoming training academy that's all on lead generation and how to close those leads. It's 2 days, and I will extend an offer from our marketing firm for your followers, Wes. Speaking of video marketing, if they decide to attend our training academy referred by you, we will go ahead and make them a 30-second business video for them to post on their business.
Well, that's fantastic, and you can't beat that. Wow. So for anyone that's watching, reach out to me and I'll help make sure you get in touch with Brandi to take advantage of that incredible offer, and to make sure you get the information on that training that's coming up. So Brandi, I cannot thank you enough for joining us for the interview today. It was great seeing you at ChannelCon. Wonderful to have you on the program today. And for all of our listeners and viewers out there, cannot thank you enough for coming into Tigerpaw for our learning resources. And remember, until next time, keep learning.
Thank you again.